great opportunity for us this week. Obviously, I mean, anytime you get the opportunity to play the number one team in the country, that's huge. And I mean, there's only nine teams? Only nine teams in the whole country have had that opportunity so far this year. So it's unique. You don't always get this, and fun for our guys. Obviously, a great challenge. A team that leads the nation in just about everything. You try to look. I don't know that they have many weak spots. They got a strong offense, a physical offensive line. One of the best offensive lines probably in the league, or probably the country. Two big-time running backs. They got a fifth-year senior quarterback that knows the system, is a competitor, is a winner, can make all the plays that they need him to make. They got great wideouts on the perimeter to throw it to. I think you look last week, they rotate tight ends in. They bring one in, and I just watched him run away from LSU's entire defense on one play, and then they bring in another guy that's 6'6", 310 pounds, and it's bigger than most of our offensive linemen. And they're more of a defensive team, I guess, right? That's what they're always known for. So, great challenge on that side of the ball. They're deep. I mean, they got five-star players as backups. They got five-star players sitting on the bench, not getting tons of reps. So, they have talent at every position. Statistically, you look at what they've been able to do is pretty impressive on the defensive side of the ball. I think they had the one game where Johnny Manziel put up a bunch of points, made a bunch of plays running around, and improvised and put up a lot of yards. And, despite that, they still lead basically the nation, the conference, and they're right at the top of the nation in just about every defensive category. So, but a great challenge for us. I think they're averaging winning every game by 31 points. So we'll have our hands full. A unique opportunity, and we're going to enjoy that opportunity and go out there and play with great effort for 60 minutes and see what we can do.
Dan, what's it like, as you said, I think Saturday, game planning for a team, and then the offense, one guy just kind of takes over because you can't stop that. Now it seems like you play more of a team. How do you, I guess, what's the difference in game planning for like a Johnny Manziel and now game planning for, like you said, all those offensive weapons?
Well, it's very different. Got to make sure everybody takes a lot of ice baths this week. Or last week, we had to stretch out an awful lot and drink a lot of water and hydrate because you're going to be running around all over the place. And this week, you better, get in that ice bath and get your body healthy, and because they're going to pound away at you. Now, not that they don't have the talent to spread it out and throw it out anytime they want, and with all the great receivers they have and the great fifth-year senior quarterback, and a guy that wins, but just within their style, it's just going to be a much more physical game. And our guys come in. I think you look at what we do is you come in and you look at the film with the guys and you make corrections. Within the general part of our defense, because a lot of stuff from last week won't really apply to this week. So, it's not like, hey, we have to fix this week, or we made this mistake and we're going to see it again this week. You're going to see a very different style. So, a lot of it's much more in correcting some overall issues that we had, and then just change the mindset for this style of offense you're going to play, and take our schemes and see how it applies to their team.
Dan, just talk about Durania Wilson's emergence at receiver for you and his progression as the season's gone on.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job. He's a guy that, we thought during training camp made some plays, continued to develop. You look at he had some good matchups on Saturday. And, like we always try to do it. I guess it's tough, because I think, a lot of people look statistically and say, wow, he had such a huge game. Where's he been? Sometimes it's the matchups, and it's the looks you get. And he had some good matchups on Saturday, and we took advantage of the matchups with him on Saturday. You don't always get that. But you know what? The great thing is, you look at what he did when we had a good matchup. He went and made the play, and that's what we need that to do. We are very young at the receiver position. There's not a senior in the room. Coming into this season, I forget by this point what the number was, but I mean that the total number of catches for all of our receivers combined coming back was less than probably our third leading receiver last year, you know. So it was such a young group that it's great to see them develop and develop as a whole. And, you know, Duranier's done a good job of that, taking steps forward, but you know, other guys have as well, too.
Kind of sticking with Duranier, has there been any discussion with Rick Ray about his playing basketball this year here lately?
Not yet, because it's football season still. So,
but does that
the transition. I mean, we've discussed. Hey, you know, when football ends, and you know, hopefully in January, sometime after we're done, has the opportunity. You know, we'll make the transition, and with him getting ready to go into basketball and do that. But you know, I think Rick and I have a real good relationship. You know, so it's a hey, let's make the best way that we can get transitions to work and make sure we're taking care of Duranier. Both of us is the most important thing, and then, you know, how to get the transition to basketball.
When you look at the way that Dak has played this season, when did you realize that potential was there? I mean, or maybe like how long in training camp did you maybe realize that, you know, he could maybe overtake or just play as much as Tyler Russell would be playing?
Well, I think, you know, during training camp, we grade everything in training camp. And you know, like I said, coming out of training camp, there wasn't a huge separation in the grades, you know, and that's which is what you want, you know, which is that opportunity to have two quarterbacks ready to play. And as you can see from what we've had, you know, I mean, you get into a game situation. The other night, Dak gets banged up. You know, Tyler's played a bunch. He's in the flow of the game. He comes in the second play, bangs out a touchdown pass right there, and you know, he's ready to go. You know, at the drop of a hat. And the same as Tyler starts the game for us, gets a bunch of reps. Dak comes in as, you know, first play we score a touchdown. The guys are ready to go. And when you can have that without a huge separation between the two, it's a pretty good safety net to have.
Perfect segue, Dan. Is there an update on Dak and Deontay Skinner?
Yeah, those guys. Deontay, you know, Deontay had got a stinger that they saw some swelling on his spine and didn't discover it till midweek last week, so we didn't know until Wednesday that he wouldn't be able to play Wednesday afternoon right before practice. You know, and so I had to make some adjustments. Christian Holmes had to go back to linebacker with Bohanna already being out and DeArrington being out for the season, you know, who's kind of a bigger safety that could fill into that spot. And Christian actually did a good job. But Deontay has an MRI later today, so we should know more today. And if it's not clear today, they'll do one later in the week to see if he'll be available for this game. Dak the same way. You know, we got a stinger. They said he'll be questionable this week, but we probably won't know more. We'll know more Wednesday of his availability. You know, he didn't practice yesterday, which a lot of, you know, at this point time of year, there's, you know, anybody that plays over 40-some snaps really gets minimal work on a Sunday. And so, you know, it's one of those, it wasn't like in or out or this is the time. They, you know, it's hey, we'll check 3 different times today to see where he's at, where he's progressing. We'll check again tomorrow, and hopefully he'll be able to practice Wednesday.
Okay, I was going to ask, can that do, you know, the non-contact things that Tyler was doing with a stinger, you think, in practice?
I think part of it's going to be just how, whether it's you know, it's talking to the trainers, it's a lot more, it's an irritation. You know, when it's a nerve deal, it's irritation, so they want to try to go back to my athletic training days, which is to limit the amount of limit the amount of irritation or anything that it could have. You know, where Tyler, you put on the big protective boot and nothing was going to happen when he had the ankle sprain. He could go. The concussion, I mean, that was, you know, Tyler just couldn't take any contact, you know, so it was, you know, thinking out there on the field he was okay. During that stuff to take reps, it was just he couldn't, you know, not that guys are really allowed near the quarterback of practice anyway, but it was the extra clear.
You talked to us about Saturday, going back and reviewing the tape and seeing what's happening at the end of halves and whatever. I guess what have you learned by looking at the tape at the end of halves?
Well, you know, I mean, unfortunately, I guess everyone is a different situation that's come in, and you know, I think for us, it's the mindset of our guys. You know, I think, you know, you look at certain times during the game. You know, we fell behind in that game but you know, when the team got together, the team talked, there was confidence. I think everybody on our sideline felt we were going to win that game. Until time ran out. You know, I mean, they felt we were going to find a way to come back and find a way to make plays to win that game. To me, it's got to get to that same mindset where, hey, we're going to find a way right now when we get on that field that everyone there believes we're making this stop in this situation right now. And, you know, and it's really just that simple. You know, I mean, you look at, I mean, the big play on that, they hit an out and up, and we jumped the out. And, you know, I mean, it would have been a big, if he would have thrown the out, probably might have been a big play. Could have had a pick six and swung it the other way for us, but he didn't throw the out. He threw the out and up. So, you know, but those are things I think we have to do. And I think it becomes a confidence factor. You know, if it was one exact thing we're doing, it isn't. I think it is just the mindset of the guys of the belief that, hey, we are going to make this stop in this situation, and that's what it has to be. Oh, yeah, you know, I mean, you just got to talk about it. You know, I mean, it's how you think. You know, when you look at it and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'll be honest with you. I think, you know, earlier in the season we played LSU. We fell behind by a couple scores in the fourth quarter. I think doubt crept in our guys' mind. Hey, you know, we're not going to. I don't know. Maybe we can't make a comeback. We've erased that doubt. You know, I think you saw that over the last several weeks. You know, with making stops in the fourth quarter on defense, and then hey, we've fallen behind. That's okay. You know, we scored more points in the fourth quarter last week than we probably have in a couple of games prior to that. You know, that, hey, we don't worry about, we can find a way to do it, even though we haven't been doing it. I think it's that team belief, and I think the direction we're headed as a team and the improvements that, improvements you see with a lot of young players for us, allows us to be able to do that, allows those guys to think, hey, you know what, if we focus on it, if we're, you know, if there's a complete focus on doing this, everybody gets together, we're going to find a way to make it happen. Not that we haven't focused on it or anything before, but I think that, you know, that jumps into our guys' mind. Hey, you know, we can do whatever, we can make it happen. We can find a way to get the job done.
Dan, on Devin Bell's, I mean, it seems like he's dropped like a half dozen punts inside the 10-yard line, and really done a good job since you put him in that role. First question is, was that the role he was kind of intended for when you brought him in here, punting and kickoff, or
well,
he kind of just adapted well?
I mean, originally, you know, when we recruited him as a punt kickoff guy, and he did a really good job as a true freshman kicking field goals. You know, and kind of won that job. I think in the process of winning that job, really took a step back as a punter, where he's kind of gotten into taking that step forward again as a punter. And, you know, like I say, for me, we chart everything throughout the week with all that stuff to see who has been. And you know, when he started punting for us, it was, you know, in the weeks of practice, he kind of had surpassed Baker all week in statistical numbers. And so we decided to make that decision. You know, his ability in the pooch punts and you know, pinning them inside the 10, that was something we saw early and something we wanted to utilize him in that role. Something he just has a really good knack for. So that was something we were going to plan on using him all along in. And then just the rest of it, he's kind of really picked up his game.
How frustrating is it when you kind of go back and look at the tape to see like the struggles on special teams, especially when there is no like, I mean, like you said, you're kind of in charge of that unit. Is it more disappointing because I mean it's kind of on you more than anything, or? Well, I'll be honest with you, everything on me is in this program, so I'm frustrated with just about everything that happens, good and bad. Like I said, you know, the frustration for me, and I look at it with our team, is putting the complete game together. You know, when you have a lot of young guys. We've had some really good special teams games throughout, you know, during the season. Saturday certainly wasn't one of them, you know, and, you know, there's other games where we've had some great defensive efforts. And then we've had some poor defense. We've had some really good offensive efforts, you know, and some poorer offensive efforts. And it's just, it is putting everything together as a team and playing at a very, very high level.
And in this league, you know, when the type of schedules we play and the type of schedule we're playing this year, you have to. You know, like I always say, you have to be on your A game, and a B just won't cut it. You know, I mean, a B will get you, you know, with a B is going to get you with things around your neck on graduation day in college, but a B in the SEC football field is getting you a loss, which is a failure. You know, it's an A or an F in the SEC, it's kind of how you play. And, you know, so for us, and that's as a team, an entire team. So obviously frustrating because, you know, those are, again, I think they were all things that we can control, and, you know, things that give their kids credit. They, you know, when they had opportunities to make plays, they made some plays. You know, we did some decent things in the return game, you know, some punt returns, and had a couple silly penalties. Did some good, you know, we did some good things in the kick game. I mean, we pinned them inside the 15, I think, on 2 punts. We had them inside the 10 on a kickoff, or inside the 20, definitely on 2 to 3 kickoffs, and then, you know, you give up the big one. So there's the positive negatives. It's putting the whole game together to me, which is very, very frustrating for our guys because you got to be on it for the entire 60 minutes.
Last 2 weeks.
You prepped today.
So I guess.
Or your mic hug.
I think that's what it is. Yeah. You basically shut down Jadeveon Clowney, and then you look at their I guess last week, Mike Evans, barring that one catch, you really kind of contained him
coverage,
too. Yeah. How have you been able to maybe take away the other team's best player, regarding obviously not Manziel, but, you know, Clowney and Evans?
You know what? I think with our guys, you look like I said. You know, in both games, I don't think we completely took them out of games. But what we wanted to do, you know, our focus was not how do we take guys out of the game completely. Our focus is more on how we limit what they do. You know, because I think if your plan is let's take this guy completely out of the game, and they're great players. You know, Mike Evans still jumps up and makes a spectacular catch. There's not much you can do about it. And Clowney, like we always say, you know, I told our guys, I guess I lied to our town, I said, you know, he's going to get his sack, and he didn't. You know, but it is that, you know, where you put the focus on we have a plan to help contain what they're going to do. Our focus is not to completely stop them, to just contain them. And I think when you do that, the guys can play with a little bit more confidence because when the guy does make a big play, they're not like, oh, you know, our plan was to make sure nothing happened. Our plan was to contain it as best we could. And I thought we've done you know, I mean, hard for me to go in and yell at our defense because our goal number 1 against Texas A&M was stop the run. You know, we did. You know, we held them under 100 yards of rushing, which hasn't happened very much for them since Johnny Manziel's been there. You know, and you know, so within our plan, it's just, you know, they made a lot of plays. You know, we looked at it. I think 50% of their third downs occurred after he started scrambling outside of the offense. 25% of their pass offense, 30% of their rushing yards were scrambles. 2 of their touchdowns were scrambles and extended plays. So, you know, I mean, you know, if you look at it in that, I mean, 25 to 30% of their offense was improvised outside of their offense in the game, and that's something we knew going into would happen. That, you know, we just have to be ready for it, not let it affect the entire game. But obviously, ended up being a big part.
You've been able to use Chris Jones at both end and tackle, and this past week he lined up directly over center. Just how versatile is this guy? And even though he doesn't have huge stats, he seems to be impacting what the other teams do.
Well, you know, the thing I'm most proud of with Chris, and that he's really understanding is as a freshman, making the plays. You know, which is him doing his job. He doesn't have to get a sack for him to help be responsible for a sack. He doesn't need to be the one to make the tackle to have us result in a tackle. And I think that there's some maturity in understanding that, you know, because guys want to make plays. But I do appreciate the fact that he's very conscientious about fundamentals and trying to do his job and do it the right way. Now, and he wants to make plays, but understanding that sometimes his job is to get double-teamed and somebody else makes the play. And I appreciate the fact for him as a freshman that I think he's really bought into that and he really understands that. And it's allowed then for us to, you know, give him flexibility because he's not just trying to, go out there and do his own thing. He's trying to do his job within the scheme.
If that can't go, have you noticed as a staff or when you look at tape that the offense just kind of seems to have more life, have more energy with him on the field? You're moving the ball with Tyler, but you're not getting points, and there seems to be stalls there. Is there something to that you've noticed?
Yeah, well, I do think I think in one part of it, I think in anything, when you get down into the red zone, when you vertically shrink the field like that, there's more players in the box. The quarterback run game becomes a little bit more valuable for you, and the threat of quarterback run becomes more valuable for you, especially in red zone situations, because they don't need a guy in the middle of the field because there's no middle of the field for the guy to cover. So that can kind of, I think there's that aspect of it. And, the thing, though, you look, Tyler's done a decent job running the ball at times this year. He's a different, like I said, a very different style runner, but a capable runner in doing things. So, and so part of it probably is our fault of not just saying, hey, Tyler's going to go, when we get down in the red zone, stick with the Tyler. Tyler can run it too. He's going to, the one thing about him, he might not be he's fast in the open field. But the great thing with Tyler, he does have that toughness. You know what I mean? He's not a guy that's going to shy away from contact. He is a tough kid. So for us, I think we got to do a better job of utilizing him in that role and not kind of maybe protect him or not try to put him in that situation, because it's stuff that he can still do.
Last question?
No last questions.